Hello all you infidels, kuffar and Muslims out there. Nemesis is back for the final instalment of owning Gazbot 1990, the Islamic appeaser, the Islamic apologist, the bullshitter, liar, defamator, and quite frankly, the defecator. Usually it comes mostly out of his mouth. Sorry if you find that insulting. Anyway, right, so I'm saying here to him, you make me laugh sometimes. Why do people need to be a member of said religion to be able to understand Arabic text and definitions when anyone can resource the information from Islamic sites? So you have an original Quran that differs from all others. Is it pre-Uthman? The word FASAD is used in my quotation. Its phonetic transliteration, pronunciation in this verse is FASADan. It relates to people who refuse to accept Allah's laws, i.e. those who refuse to be subjugated by the Islamic hordes and become willing dhimmis. So how can we ascertain from the definition of FASAD that it applies to anyone who refuses subjugation? Well, that's easy, because corruption, mischief is broadly defined. This is demonstrated by Ishaq Zahid, who has compiled a glossary of Islamic terms and their meaning. So I will be posting his definition next. Fasad, as defined by Ishaq Zahid. Fasad, literally corruption. In Quranic terminology, means creating disorder and corruption on earth by following a path other than God's. Islam maintains that true peace and happiness emanate only through the observance of God's commands and through making a conscious effort to see that His laws alone are implemented in every sphere of life. Fasad occurs when man violates God's laws and disobeys Him. Fasad may therefore be partial as well as total. Partial when one disregards God's law in one aspect of life while acknowledging His sovereignty in other spheres. If a society is based on the denial of God, that society is bound to be corrupt and exploitative society, hence full of fasad. Right, being as the word fasad is actually used to define corruption, mischief, etc., then this verse is a threat to everyone. Refuse Allah and His Prophet and His laws, and what do you get according to His laws? That's right, Gazbot. Mutilation, death, or if you're lucky, just expulsion from your indigenous homeland. Just because you don't like this invasive totalitarian ideology, which at its core is nothing more than a complete way of life, then punishment should ensue in any of the above mentioned atrocities. Indeed, Islam is hateful, intolerant, and murderous. Right. Allow me to, before I leave for the airport, quote you on the paradox that is saying Islam, an idea has such emotions and associations as hate, intolerance and murder. Well, last thing I knew, murder wasn't actually an emotion. But anyway, an idea cannot be touched. It cannot love or hate. It is only an idea. It is what people and people alone choose to do with the idea that causes the above quoted things. People are responsible, not the idea. I will answer your points yet again when I get off the plane and arrive safely in Newcastle. Right, my response to that is, there is nothing paradoxical about what is ordained in the Islamic text. I've quoted you from Surah 5 verse 33. If an ideology calls for the death, mutilation and expulsion of those who refuse to accept Allah, His laws and His final messenger Muhammad, then that just equates to intolerance, hatred and murderous intent. There is nothing nice or even good about that, but if you feel there is, then again that says a lot about you. Of course, an ideology doesn't have emotions. The perpetrators of the Islamic faith, Muhammad, Allah, obviously do, and that is clear in the text itself. If a God sees fit to quell any form of dissent, refusal, rejection, exposure, etc., 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 then said God has very human characteristics, because the verse is clearly about denying freedom of thought and expression. Allah, Muhammad, are clearly paranoid of rejection. Their way of dealing with such a threat is with violence and coercion. Right, so there is nothing more that is actually expanded on that now, up to this date. I'll keep trying to probe him for, not literally, I'll keep trying to probe him for, you know, this refutation that he's going to offer me, because he keeps saying that, you know, he's going to be able to do it, but as yet, he still hasn't managed it. So, Gazbot, if you're watching this, please feel free to try and refute my claims. Or at least, very least, pick up on where we left off in our debate. Anyway, just for the coup de grace of exposure, I think what we'll do now, go to Gazbot's channel, and we'll have a look at all of his comments. Right, he has a friend called Zizoubilly, a Pakistani Muslim who thinks he's educated. Far from it. He's just as bigoted and appeasing and as apologetic, and you know, he's just as deluded, to be honest with you. I've asked Zizou here, right, does the Islamic word FASAD appear in Surah 5 verse 32 and 33? Only Gazbot seems to think it's not for some reason. And what does Zizou say? This is a Muslim who reads his Quran. This is a Muslim who wants a caliphate, by the way. Anyway, Zizoubilly, nemesis. There is no such thing as an Islamic word. I'll give that to you, Zizou. Bang on there, mate. Bang on. Apologies, should have said Arabic word. If you meant Arab word, then yes, it does exist. Why do you want to know? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So, Gazbot, you've lied. You've deceived. You've defamed. And in that, with your denial that FASAD is not contained in those verses, Zizoubilly, a Muslim, says it is. People, I'll leave it up to you what you want to think of Gazbot and what he's about. I've already made my decision. As much as we did become friends initially, I don't think you'll want to be my friend after that. But, you know, there I am. There's Stealth. There's Zizou. Just move you over. So yes, Gazbot, your friends are in contradiction with your opinions. You lie, you fabricate, you bullshit, and you are an Islam apologist. Unfortunately, your apologies don't lead to the truth of the matter. You can't use 21st century transliteration, to try and define something that happened in the 7th century. You must go to classical interpretations of Islam and its texts, as you will find in Ibn Ishaq's obviously Tafsir, which is classical. So anyway, people, I should like to say, give you links to all the information that I've provided on here. You can make your own decisions, but Gazbot, consider yourself owned, refuted, and exposed as the lying, deceiving bigot that you are. Cheers. Thanks everyone. Thanks for listening. Thanks for bearing with me and enjoying this moment of celebration. Cheers.